Welcome to a special edition of Conversations with Paul Brown. We are down in Elbert County, Georgia, and we are at the home of Diane and Ray Vickery, and this is our Valentine's Day special. And they've got all kinds of great stuff and stories to tell. Let me start with you, Diane. Tell me about growing up and where you grew up and how you ended up going to work at Jackson Mill.
I grew up over at Belton, South Carolina. Attended Belton High School. I went to Long Branch Baptist Church, and I was 14 years old. Me, myself, my sister, and Mom came over to Iowa one evening, and we was walking the sidewalk. It was early spring. Me and my sister had on shorts. And Ray, he worked at the old Iowa Cafe when Lopez was the owner. Well, as we walked by, Ray let out a great big whistle.
He did not.
Yes, he did. So, of course, that caused us to turn around and come back. So we came back. He invited us in to buy an ice cream. Well, of course, he didn't just buy mine. He wound up buying me, my mom, and my sister all. I think it took all he made that day to pay for the ice creams. But anyway, a spark started there. We dated for quite a while, and later on, he goes and asks my mom, can he marry me? And of course, Mama was worried about how he was going to support somebody that was 14. I wasn't old enough to go to work. And she knew that we was really in love because he stayed at our house all the time when he wasn't working. And so my mom asked him, said, now Ray, what do you do for a living that you can support Diane? And he says,
well, I worked in Jackson Mill on the weekends. I run moonshine, and I cut firewood on the side too.
So you had 3 jobs.
Yeah, working in the cafe, cutting firewood, running moonshine.
And Jackson Mill on the weekend, so it was really 4 jobs.
Well, that was before I went to work at Jackson Mill.
Okay.
I quit the cafe and went to work at Jackson Mill.
But when you were making the pitch to her mama about how you could support her, those were the 3 jobs that you said you had. You worked at the cafe, you cut firewood, and you ran a little moonshine.
Yeah, she said, what is moonshine? I said, that's when you make Italy whiskey in the shine of the moon.
and my mom says, with 3 jobs, I guess you'll be able to keep her fat and sicey, so I guess I'll have to sign for you to make y'all happy. Then, of course, we had to get his mother to sign because he was only 17. Now, that was a different story because he was the baby of the family and he was Mama's baby. So we finally convinced her we just needed to get married. And so she had to sign for Ray. We all wound up at the courthouse in Anderson County at the probate court to get married. The judge says, you'll never make it, but if this is what you want, your moms are here to sign for you. That's what we're going to do. So we got married, and then we bought us a little place in Iowa. We lived in Iowa for quite a while. And we both got us a job at, first of all, I went to work at Iowa Manufacturing because the children were small and I didn't want to leave them at night. But when they got older, I pursued a job at Jackson Mill. Ray had already started to work there in '62, and he worked there until they closed, and I worked there from 1996 until they closed. So that was our career at Jackson Mill. Then when the mill closed, that's when they was offering the TRA training for people that got laid off of their jobs. So I pursued that. I went on to college, went to Forest Junior College. I got an associate's degree, and then I got a medical assistant's degree as well. So I was able to get me a good paying job at the hospital. I could work in the office or the emergency room or whatever, because my job, it was flexible to either one. So I stayed there until they closed, the Hart County Hospital closed. And I was old enough to retire, thank goodness, by then, so I just went ahead and retired and been a housewife ever since. But Ray, he he stayed on at Jackson Mill as security to keep people from breaking in or whatever. And he worked there until 1998. And he was old enough to start his little check.
Go back to the Iva Cafe.
Oh, okay.
And when he had an eye for you, back then, how did he know how to get in contact with you? Did he ask for your telephone number? How did he ask for that first date?
Well, he asked my mom, he says, can I take her home?
This was he had never met you before.
Mm-mm.
You had never laid eyes on Ray before. Your mom had never laid eyes on Ray before, and he has the audacity to ask your mama, "Can he date you?"
Yeah, yeah.
And what'd she say?
Well, he just asked, could he take me home? You know, so and she said, well, sure, y'all just follow me and my sister. She wasn't going to let him go by himself. So over the road, it was right funny. Every house we'd come to, I said, I live right there. And he'd slow down, he'd go to turn. I said, no, I'm teasing. We live on down the road. And so that went on for quite a while. And then we finally made it to my house. And Mom, she liked Ray. My sister liked Ray. He just became a part of the family after so many months of dating and everything. She knew Ray was a good person.
You were working at the Iva Cafe. What kind of car did you have?
56 Chevrolet.
What had you done to it?
Well, I cut the mufflers off and put straight pipes on it to run them out the back.
So when you were going down the road, people knew you were coming?
Half a mile.
When it got time to leave and go home, did you do anything with Diane? Did she walk you to the car?
Well, she probably did.
Did you
She
do
probably-
anything?
yeah.
You didn't try to kiss her, did you?
I probably did. Ha ha.
Do you remember, Diane, did he kiss you when he took you home?
On the side of the face.
Okay, so you turned your cheek and let him kiss you on the cheek.
Yeah.
All right, what happened next? I mean, you go inside now, and your mom and your sister, you're talking about this guy from the cafe that just brought you home. What was the conversation like?
Well, you know, Mom said he seems like a nice guy. I said, you know, I don't mind you dating him and going out with him because he had a first cousin, Rufus Brown, that he was dating my first cousin, Corey Brown. So we kind of wound up double dating just to please Mom. I had to double date because I was so young. So they got married in January, and I was like, I could see them so happy on their own, you know, living together. And I said, Ray, I said, I've been knowing you a good while. I think me and you ought to get married now. And he says, well, I hadn't ever been married before, but I'm willing to try.
Yeah.
Well, we started going together in like October of '62. So I turned 14 in December. We got married in April.
Wait. At the cafe, you're 13?
Yep.
Ray! Tell me what it was like at the probate office when y'all showed up and wanting to get married.
I was excited. Ray was excited. He brought his mom. I brought my mom. We had to have witnesses. And so, you know, I didn't think anything about it, but
Did you go out and buy a special dress?
yeah, I bought a white dress. I actually had on a white hat.
Do you know where you got the dress from?
Learner shop.
On the square in downtown Anderson.
Mm-hmm.
Did they say the hat too?
Probably.
Do you remember what Ray was dressed in?
He had on a sweater.
Tell me how the pictures ended up being made.
Well, we were coming down the road, and I was sitting close to him, and he had his arm around me in that 56 Chevrolet, you know, and I'm like, oh no, Ray, we forgot to get somebody to make our picture on our wedding day. Pull over on the side of the road. So I happened to have that little brownie camera in the back seat of the car. So I said, you take a picture of me, and I'll take a picture of you. I said, we have to have a picture on our wedding day.
And that's because back then there were no selfies.
No, mm-mm.
So there is no picture of your wedding day with you two in the same picture.
No.
You get married at courthouse, you've taken your picture. Where's the next stop?
We go to his sister's house, And we didn't have any kind of celebration or anything. I think people were ashamed that we got married. We were so young, they just didn't know what to do. But we went to his sister's house and we stayed with her until we could find us a place of our own. So we rented a little mobile home for
But you never had a honeymoon.
No.
Courthouse, take the picture along the side of the road to your sister's house.
Yep, no. He couldn't afford a honeymoon. He couldn't afford a honeymoon. Because he was just getting to work 3 days at the mill then, and that was to pay for that 56 Chevrolet and put gas in it.
Welcome back to Conversations with Paul Brown. We are down in Elbert County, Georgia with Diane and Ray Vickery, and they're telling us their love story on this Valentine's Day special. Ray, you had never dated anybody before Diane because basically you finally had your car, right? But Diane, you indicate that Ray was probably a pretty good kisser.
Yeah. Yeah. After he had put the little kiss on the side of my face, then later on, you know, he did put a big kiss on me, and I'm like, goodness, Ray, how did you learn to kiss so good?
Yeah, I said, siphoning gas, I guess.
Siphoning gas made you a good kisser.
Yeah.
Had to have some gas to come see his lover.
That's right.
I'd be working in the cafe and the police would pull up, you know, well, not right in front, but back a little bit. The cook, she would say, Ray, you got your can of hose? I said, yes, ma'am. She said, police car, I'll keep them in you. Said, you go get 5 gallons. I had the police car.
You did not.
I did.
Working at the Ava Cafe, you would siphon 5 gallons of gas out of the police car while they were at the cafe.
While he was in there drinking coffee.
Lord have mercy. Well, while we're admitting our past indiscrepancies, tell me how you got in the moonshine business.
You was just
The
working-
mill went down, and a friend of mine, I was telling him, I said, the mill gone down on 3 days. And I said, I got this new car to pay for and a rent to pay for. He said, I know how we can make some money. I said, how? He said, I got a moonshine still. He said, you got a spring branch on your place there where you live? I said, yeah.
So you made a moonshine still on the spring on your property.
Yep.
All right, now that you've got the moonshine made, how do you go about getting rid of it and selling it and making the money to pay the car payments?
Well, we knew somebody, he did. He knew somebody would take it all we made. So we sold it to him.
But there were a couple individuals that you got to be friends with that you made sure that they had their half gallon. You were giving moonshine to the sheriff in Hart County. I mean, the moonshine was that good.
Yeah.
And he bragged on it.
Yeah, he'd get a half a gallon every Sunday evening.
How would you get the moonshine to the
He'd
sheriff?
come down to the house and get it.
And then you branched out and you had to make somebody in Anderson County happy. Who was that?
Judge.
Oh, Judge.
And tell me about delivering the moonshine to the Anderson County judge.
In a paper sack. I'd give it to them, you know.
Of course. Yeah, you didn't expect them to pay.
Yeah, he'd come down there one Sunday evening. Diane's mama spent the night with her. He drove up in the front yard while I was down in the woods making it. She said, Mama, carry that half gallon. I couldn't give it. Sure. She said, Diane, you done lost your mind now. Said, I ain't carrying that out there and get locked up. She said, hand it here, Mama. She went out there and carried it, give it to him. She went on.
You and Diane were in the moonshine business together.
Well, yeah. Sometimes she'd want to come down there and watch running.
What made your shine so good, Ray?
I never cut it.
Now tell
It was
people
100.
what that means.
That mean add water to it. It was 100 proof. You could put it in a tablespoon, get a tablespoon full, strike a match, and it'd burn a blue blaze.
Diane, tell us what happened on your 50th anniversary. You decided to do something special.
Well, I had always wanted a church wedding, and it seems like we never did get around to it. I'd mention it to Ray every once in a while, but he'd kind of blow it off. So one day I had to go over to Athens with my daughter to the doctor. So we stopped by a Goodwill store. And this formal shop had given the Goodwill shop all of their tuxedos, white shirt, bow tie, vest, the whole works. And I says, well, I'm going to get your daddy one because we're going to celebrate our 50th wedding anniversary. So I got him a tuxedo, and then I went and bought me a dress, nice dress to wear. And just everything worked out great. I have pictures to prove it. Turned out to be a lovely wedding. Ray actually sang to me there at the altar as the preacher was doing our ceremony. He sang, "You're My Best Friend."
Don Williams. Yeah.
By Don Williams.
By Don Williams.
Diane, you said something a minute ago about the fact when y'all got married down at the Anderson County Courthouse in the probate judge's office, he said, you're 14, you're 17, this marriage ain't never going to last. He's probably long gone.
Yes.
If he were to come in and say, I'm sorry, I was wrong, you're still married, what would you tell him was the secret to you and Ray staying married how long now?
57 years.
So why did it work?
We just kind of grew up together. He knows what I like. I know what he likes. I know what gets him upset. He knows what gets me upset.
But when you all had disagreements, let me put it that way, how did you come to a compromise?
Well, we never did fuss that much. We never did get upset. But if we did, he would walk outside. I guess he'd have to cool off. He'd just go outside. One time I was so mad I just locked the door, wouldn't let him in. He was banging on the door, let me in, let me in. So I told him, I said, I'm sorry, and that was over with. But basically, we've never had any actual separation, real bad arguments or anything. Because like I say, I know what makes him get upset. He knows what makes me get upset.
Ray, what would you say the reason that y'all have been so successful in this marriage thing for, what, 57 years?
Well, I guess we love one another.
And just tell me the one story about the $3 you paid for a box of junk.
Yeah.
Tell me that story.
Well, I bought a box of junk for $3. And there was a bunch of pill bottles in that box of junk. I don't know. And Diane, she was looking at it, and it was heavy, that pill. She said, something in here. I said, open it. She opened it. There was 13 several dollars.
And you did something special with one of them, Diane. What did he do for that?
We carried it to a jewelry store, and he polished it up. It was a 1900 silver dollar. He polished it up, put a bezel around it. Ray bought me a chain to match. She bought me a bracelet to match the chain. Bought me earrings to match.
And you did some research on that one coin.
Yeah.
And now you had 13 of them that he paid $3 for. What was your coin worth?
$35.
And throughout your life, you've run into other deals like this together out doing yard sales.
Yeah. Never know what you're going to find.
Well, when you walked into the Iva Cafe, you found something special.
I did. Yeah, I did.
And he did too.
I did too.
Kids today getting married, if they came and said, you've been married 57 years, what advice can you give us so our marriage will last 57 years? What would you tell them?
Just treat each other like you would want to be treated. Your spouse has feelings just like you do, and you can hurt just like your spouse does. So the best advice I can give is just treat your spouse the way you would want to be treated.
Ray, what advice have you got?
Make sure that you love this person and want to be with them the rest of your life.